Hello, everybody. I'm going to do a little different today. It's a little bit like "Wepa" because we're called Viva los Bills, and to this point, I haven't said one damn word in Spanish. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Viva los Bills. I'm your host, Will Cologne, aka Buffalo Will, and I'm joined as always by Vinny or cousin
What's
Vinny.
up? What's up, everybody? Cousin Vinny, what's going on, cuz?
How you doing this week, Vinny?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How about you, man?
Good, good. And as always, we have the producer, the man, Bobby Blackjack in the background, taking questions. You're posting your posts, and keeping us honest here. And again, as always, we're on 90 I-95 Sports Network live, and also on channel 198 on Zingo TV. Plus all over Facebook, where my page, Vinny's page, Bobby's page, everywhere. So this week, we're going to give you a little update like I always do. The one main thing it seems to be a continuation week after week is hey, Zach Moss still not
Still not
signed.
signed.
When's it gonna happen? Who knows? It really doesn't matter. Another thing is the Bills plus every other team. Well, for the first, I know 28 other teams will start camp at July 28th. Also, the NFL is considering shortening the preseason, which to me, and I mean,
To
this
two
is the year
games.
to yeah, this is the year to do it with COVID-19. You know, a lot of players want this, a lot of coaches want this. So, I mean, this is the years to do it. To do it, I mean, you have an excuse. If it goes well, the NFL will be like, hey, they'll probably take the credit and be like, listen, we did what you wanted. Here you go. It went great. Let's keep doing it. If it goes bad, hey, they got to opt out. They'll say, hey, COVID-19, we couldn't do it. So let's get back to old school. So, I mean, what do
And
you think
what are
about
they going
that?
to do it? They're gonna do it to two games, correct? Two preseason games.
I didn't see that. They just said they were considering cutting back
Okay.
from the article I read. So if you saw
Okay.
two games, then hey, it's possible it's two
Yeah, I
games.
saw it somewhere, but I can't. I'm not going to confirm that.
All right. Another thing that we saw, or Cole Beasley was posting, put out this whole long tweet about the situation that's going on in the United States in our country. Sad to say. I mean, you have the tweet there. Give it a read. Let's see what he said.
It's a long read now, so y'all gonna have to bear with me. All
All
right.
right.
He goes. He said, "Too long, far too long in my life, I have looked the other way. As a father of three biracial kids and someone who loves to rap, I am embarrassed, really. Growing up as a white kid, I never had to go through the hardships that black people endure every day in this country. I played on a lot of teams consisting of so many different backgrounds, but rarely is this topic one that anyone would ever want to talk about. It may have been because I'm white and nobody felt that I would understand. The locker room is different than most places, something like a safe haven. When we walk into the locker room, we leave everything from the outside at the door, and eventually, over time, I choose to remain naive to the situation. Sorry about that. I started to believe these things happened, but it could have been avoided. I would think that this particular person was resisting arrest, and it happened because in the moment it's happening so much faster. I think it's hard to believe that people who are doing the killing are the same ones who are sworn to protect us. I see it every day on social media platforms, black people being treated unfairly. I always assume that they don't have all the information. I think they are creating the narrative because so many media outlets do. I come up with all these excuses to justify what is happening in my head. I'm not writing all this to make it okay or try to get some type of understanding for my wrongdoing. I'm writing this to apologize to everyone affected by unfortunate events like the murder of George Floyd. We get distracted by so many other things in our lives, especially in this day and age. So often we see it, feel bad, and post something about it, and this return to our lives. That is why this problem will still exist. I've been part of the problem. One of the first steps to recovery is first admitting you have a problem or that you were wrong. I have been wrong for a long time. I have remained ignorant as much as it kills me to say. Not only have I failed black people, but I have failed my sons and daughter up to this point by turning the other way. I don't want to be a dad that says, oh, it's okay, it wasn't us. That's not how I feel, but by doing a lot of mistakes along the way, but I take pride in leading my kids by example. So this will be the start to lead them in the right direction. I want them to be part of the solution, so I absolutely have to do the same. Music has been an outlet for me in a way that I can express myself. It is a great way to reach people and bring them together. I'm hoping to influence other people like myself who have looked the other way far too long. I'm hoping that this can be a spark for us to actually take action. If you don't know how you can help, then this can be a start. Donate to 9010 nonprofit to help support Black youth in our country. Also, every cent made from downloads and streams from this song will be donated to charity as the funds become available. Originally, I wrote this song on my first album, but recently changed the verses to reflect on our current situation in America. This is too important of a time in our country to just sit by and scroll through everything that's happening before us. Every single person matters. No role is too small. Nothing you do is too little. Every bit is going to matter. Just please do something. Black Lives Matter. Cole Bleasy.
Oh man, it's a good piece. I mean, it's heartfelt and it's legit. Everything sounds good, and a lot of
Yes,
people are
sir.
starting to go towards that, and hopefully everybody starts waking up and start seeing change.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely.
kudos to
And he's
Cole.
I didn't know he was a father of three biracial kids, so
I didn't know
that
that
that hits
until you
home.
you were reading it. Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah,
that. So
so
yeah,
that definitely hits home for him.
yep. Uh, so now we move on and go more a little more lightheartedness. But
Yeah.
those are like a little update like we usually do every week about stuff going on with the Bills. So this week it's almost we kind of did something like this, but being that there's not much out there going on, we have to come up with stuff. That's pretty much what you got to do. So this week we're doing our own top 10 all-time Bills. Then he has his list. I have my list. It's not going off the pro stuff. It's our top 10. So if you don't like it, hey, leave a comment. Give us your top 10 of all time. It's a debate. Like I said, this show, Viva Los Bills, is for the fans. Hey, by two fans. So everybody, we're all going to have
Absolutely.
our opinions. So we're going to start
And,
off.
and just a disclaimer, real quick.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't do a lot of guys like from back in the day, like the Ken Halls. I didn't do, stuff
Oh,
that I really watch. You know what I mean? So I'm going by my personal, like you said, personal top 10.
ooh, no, I did too, but I might have thrown one or two guys that I probably wouldn't have. But you got to give these guys some their credit, you know.
Yeah.
So we're going to start from 10, go down like it usually goes. I have some notes. We might have some of the same players. Honestly, we didn't even get time to talk
Pro-
before this.
Probably the top five will be the same. I'm pretty
I,
much sure.
probably, but it might be in a different order. I'll tell you that. But I
Yeah.
will say we didn't get to talk and share our top 10 picks. So it's going to be a surprise for you guys, surprise for me. So we're going to go back and forth as we always do. So you want to go first with your top 10, or I mean your number 10, or you want me to
I'll
go
let
first?
you go first. I'll let you go first.
All right. So my number 10 top bill of all time is number 89, Steve Tasker, coming in at 5'9", 185. Let me see. He was drafted in 1986. No, he played with the Bills in 1986 to 1997 when he was actually drafted. He played his first 2 years with the Houston Oilers. He was a ninth round pick. This is when the Browns used to go further than seventh rounds. He was a ninth round pick in 1985 out of Northwestern. And just to show you this grit this guy has, he didn't start his college career in Northwestern. He started his career at Dodge City Community College. His achievements, he's on the Bills Hall of Fame inductee in 2007. He's a seven-time Pro Bowl selection, and he was the game's MVP in 1993 for the Pro Bowl. He's a member of the Bills all-time team. I mean, considered one of the greatest special team players of all time. He's not a Hall of Famer, even there's people all around the league trying to get this guy into the Hall of Fame. He's made all-time pick in 2000 and had 7 career block punts and was credited with 204 tackles. This is on special teams. And as a receiver, he ended up playing receiver, for a little bit. I mean, his stats with Buffalo as a receiver, he had 51 receptions, 769 yards, 9 touchdowns. I mean, you can't really look at the guy as a receiver. He came in, filled in once in a blue moon. It was said that Jim Kelly wanted him to play more receiver, but Marv Levy said no because he wanted to
Hmm.
keep him on special teams. But his real chances at receiver came in 1995 and 1996. 95, he had 35 targets. 96, he had 33. He also had 18 rushes for 114 yards, no touchdowns. But starting off my list is Steve Tasker. Even the NFL Network had him as top 10, one of the top 10 players that are not in the Hall of Fame.
Never went to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, yes. And everybody.
Now, let me ask you a question. I also have Steve Tasker, but he's a little bit up on my list. So do I talk about him now, or do I wait for at that point on my list? I mean, we already got him here. Might as well talk about him.
I mean, you're gonna have them all. You can recap because I'm gonna give you my guy.
Okay.
I just, we could get a little bit into it, and I'll add some stuff to your Steve Tasker wherever you have him.
Okay.
So that's where I have him. Who do you have at number 10?
My number 10, believe it or not, is your favorite player, Mr. Don Beebe.
Beebe.
I just can't. That's one of my guys, man. I grew up watching him, and he was one of the premier guys that I love watching to play. He's only 5'11", 185, came from Illinois. He played at Chadron State. I don't even know where that is. I never even heard of that. Chadron State. You ever hear that, Khaled? Chadron State. As a player, he played for the Bills from 1989 to 94. He played for 9 seasons. He also played for the Carolina Panthers and Green Bay Packers. He was a member of the Bills that played with the 4 Super Bowls. He was a member of that team. What did he do? That I'm trying to remember what he did. That was.
Oh, by the way, Chadron State is in Nebraska. I just looked that up.
Thank you. You're quick. You're quick with that. I believe he won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers, even though he lost. In 9 seasons, he caught 219 passes for 3,416 yards, rushed for 28 yards, returned 81 kickoff for 1,735 yards, and scored 25 touchdowns, 23 receiving, 1 kickoff return, 1 fumble recovery, and he appeared, like I said, he appeared in 5 Super Bowls as a player and won one with the Green Bay Packers. Let me see what else I got here. He also became famous for a play called the pogo stick play. I don't know if you ever heard of that. That was when pogo stick play. I don't know if you remember back in the day they used to replay it all the time. That's when he caught a pass. He jumped in the air, and one of the Cleveland Browns players, I think it was Felix Wright, the safety for the Browns, kind of took his legs from underneath him. He landed square on his head. So he bounced right back up. As he fell down, he fell on his head. And then the slow motion of the landing, I don't know if you've seen it, but I mean, it was played over and over in the 90s. They said he actually tore a neck muscle on the hit, and he nearly was paralyzed. And he says right now, currently, he still gets occasional numbness in his right arm as a result of that play. He was one of the first Bills that formed the core of the Carolina Panthers when it was founded in '95. Also, he played 1 season with the Carolina Panthers, but he finished his career with the Packers. This guy he's always been respected by the players and coaches because of his strong ethic and character, and he was honored as an unsung hero in 1996 by the NFL Players Association Awards banquet. So this guy is one of my favorite players. I got him at number 10.
Listen, I've always liked Don Beebe. It was just that one show you kept saying I didn't like that. But I always respected Don Beebe, and I was happy when he actually got that Super Bowl ring, even though it was with Green Bay. I'm one of those guys. I don't know about you. I know like Tony from Bobby's show and Tony's show. He doesn't like players when they leave half the time, If I like the Bill and he goes to a different team, I root for the Bill, even though he's on another team.
I like all the players. I do like all the players when they leave. You kind of root for them because they're part of your family. But the only one I did have an issue with was Sammy Watkins. I was like a little little
Gotcha.
peeved off with him. But I mean, I was still kind of happy he got his ring. But I wish he would have been with us if he would have stayed healthy.
Yeah, like I told you, I wasn't mad with him. It kind of
Yeah.
upset me when I heard that whole story come out
Hmm.
after the fact. This guy, now we're going to number 9. This guy might not be on even your radar. I had to give him some respect. Uh, Number 94, Aaron Schroeder. 6'4", 243 pounds. He played defensive end from 2001 to 2009. Achievements: two-time Pro Bowl selection, ranked second in team history behind Bruce Smith in career with sacks. He has 78 sacks. Also made 483 tackles, 21 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, 8 fumble recoveries. I mean, he played his entire 9-year career with the Bills. He was a second-round pick in 2001 out of TCU. His career best was 14 sacks in 2006. Another thing, he had, I don't know if it still stands because I wasn't sure if Jerry Hughes broke it or he got close to it. In 2006, he set the Bills' longest sack streak with sacks in 6 games in a row. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's still there. I got to check. But one thing, he's the one player in NFL history as of right now who has sacked Tom Brady the most, and it still stands. And this is
That's a good stat to have.
yeah. And the one play I remember because I was looking through stuff too, and I remember he had picked off Tom Brady on in 2009 on Monday Night Football, and he returned it. It was a one-handed catch, jumped up, blocked it one hand, grabbed it,
And
and
then caught it.
returned it for a touchdown.
Awesome.
This guy, he had 78 sacks, and he played only 9 years. So just imagine if he would have played, I don't know, 12 years, 11 or 12 years. Besides the injury in 2008, he had 1 sack that year, but he only played 5 games. His lowest average was 6.5 sacks. So just if you give this guy 6 more sacks for 4 more years, he's at I believe 104 sacks career. So I mean he played well. I liked him. He ended up leaving. I think it came down to he got tired of losing and not making the playoffs. But the guy, it was a beast. So me personally, I liked him. I have him at 9. I gave him some love to Aaron Schroeder.
All right, let me write him down.
Yeah, see you're like, yeah, I don't know about that. See your face there.
Hey, that's your Don Bibi.
There you go, my Don Bibi. All right. Listen, another thing when I did my list, like you could always throw like James Lofton, you could throw Terrell Owens, but again, they only played 3 years, so I'm not going to put them in there. I'm putting more of those homegrown guys that played a lot of years.
That been with us.
Yeah, so that's you can look at it either way, but to me, those are the true Bills. So at number 9, who do you have? Can't put Don Bibi again, all right?
No, Don Bibi's done it already. At number 9, I got E-Money. You know who E-Money is? That's all Eric Moulds. Formerly number 80.
Yep. Okay.
Formerly number 80, number 84, number 83. He had 3 numbers with the Bills. He played 12 seasons in the National Football League. Played for Mississippi State and was drafted by the Buffalo Bills 24th pick overall in the 1996 NFL Draft. In 2009, he was one of 3 receivers named to the Buffalo Bills' 50th anniversary all-time team. He was the Bills' first-round draft pick, like I said, for his first 2 seasons. He was stuck on the depth chart behind Andre Reed, and I don't know if you remember Quinn Early. He was stuck behind them. Yep. He finally had his breakout season in 1998, where he set a single-season team record with 1,368 receiving yards, a total that led the whole AFC and was second in the league. He also has the second highest single-season total with 1,326 in 2002, and he averaged 20.4 yards per catch and was second in the NFL in 1998. In 2002, also, he became the first player in Bills history to log 100 receptions in a single season. Also, he led in the playoffs. He had a NFL playoff record of 240 receiving yards against the Miami Dolphins. I think that's a still standing record. if I believe so. 240 receiving yards. What else? I had something else that I want to say. He was traded to the Houston Texans. I don't remember that. Do you
It,
remember that?
it was towards the end. Yeah. I
Towards the
mean,
end.
yeah, I believe it was Lee Evans, and was it Stevie Johnson who came in at that point or something?
Oh no.
Like I said in the past, what stunk for a while was when the
Uh-huh.
Bills ended up getting a 1-2 punch. I think Lee Evans came in and he had that good year, and then it's like, okay, bye, Eric, we don't need you no more, you
Yep.
know. And that happened for a few years after Eric Moulds and what's his name, Peerless Price. Once that ended up splitting, it almost happened all the time, which used to drive me crazy because once you thought, hey, we got a great 1-2 punch, we got Eric Moulds, Lee Evans, all right, we're
Yep.
good. Nope, one's gone. So I think that's when
One's
that
gone.
happened.
Yep. And one good little tidbit that I'm adding is when he got traded to the Houston Texans, he got traded for a fifth round draft pick. And you know who they used that fifth round draft pick for? It was
Uh,
for,
Beast mode.
I'll let you try to,
It was
it was
beast mode.
Kyle Williams.
Oh
Kyle
yeah, it was
Williams.
Kyle Williams.
Yep. So that's my man at number 9 is Eric Moose. Man, he was just a hustler. I love the way he played. Great hands. Anytime you know the ball was going towards him, you know something exciting was going to happen. So I got him at number 9.
Yeah, no, he was really good. It stinks. Like when you have these good players, and like I said, when I believe it was Lee Evans, I'm pretty sure it was him. They come in, you get a 1-2 punch, then they get rid of him, and like I always liked Eric Moulds. I actually had one of his jerseys, and I ended up donating it when I used to work in a nursing home, where
Oh, cool.
like it was in a people with no money. It wasn't like this nursing homes where people were sending their family members. We would take a lot of people who had nowhere to go. So a lot of them didn't have clothes, and so I gave a few of my jerseys away. I think it was Eric
Cool,
Moulds'
man.
jersey, Bledsoe's jersey, you know. But when you see these guys go, it bothers me because you know, man, that you're building something. They put all their heart. I mean, he played how many years with Buffalo? He said it's up there. It's like
I know
10
he was
years.
12 years. I think 10 years he played.
10 years with Buffalo. They trade him to Houston, then he finished his career in Tennessee. You know, and you watch their numbers just drop.
Yeah.
So it kind of stinks. But yeah, I've always liked Eric Moulds. We're going to talk about possibly something if we have enough time at the end. And he's one of those guys I was thinking maybe a candidate for. So maybe we'll see if we'll tell everybody about that. So that's a great pick at number 9. But you have 10 and 9, both wide receivers. Look at you. All right, here's another one. We're going to go to 8. You probably don't have this guy. Most likely you don't. So I'm going to throw him out there. Jim Richter, offensive guard number 51. Yeah, you see, I even went offensive line. You have to give these guys some love. They were on the team forever, some of these guys, and they were beasts, especially in the 90s, 91, 90, you know, when they had the 4 Super Bowl runs. This guy was 6'3", 273 pounds, offensive guard, who played with the Bills from 1980 to 93. Achievements, Wall of Fame inductee, actually both Wall of Fame inductee 2004, two-time Pro Bowl selection. His 203 games played ranks third in franchise history, as does his 14 seasons played. He's a member of the Bills' all-time team. This guy, he only started 3 games in his first 3 years, but after that, he started every game and was in every game he was in until 1993, where he didn't start 2 out of 12. He started for all Super Bowl teams. He was a first round pick in 1980 out of North Carolina State. He was also part of North Carolina State and North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame, where he played his career was at North Carolina State, but he's there for the college and the Sports Hall of Fame. And he finished his career, sadly to say, but he was 36 and 37. Some of these guys, they throw up those cleats, but he went to Atlanta and finished 2 more years over there. But I mean, besides that, 14 years with the Buffalo Bills, holding down the fort for 11 out of those 14 years is pretty tough, man. So, I have to give
Absolutely.
him some love. The guy's a beast. I believe he's also on, the Bills Wall of Fame, like I said. So, I mean, I have to give some of these offensive linemen. They were nasty. To me, some
You
of them
showing him
were
some love.
showing them some love. I always thought our offensive line, when you used to look at our old line compared to, say, like the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, they were skinnier. smaller, slender guys, but he could
Yeah.
move. So I'm giving him love. So I don't know if you remember these guys, but they were beasts on that O line.
Yeah.
So who do you have at 8?
At number 8, I have linebacker Cornelius Bennett, number 55, number 97. Uh, he was 6'3", 240. Um, went to Birmingham College, High School, Alabama University. Um, let me see what else. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team, 3-time first team All Pro, 2-time AFC Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Let me see, 1990s All Decade Team, Buffalo Bills 50th Anniversary Team, 3-time first team All American, 3-time All SEC, SEC Player of the Year 1986, Lombardi Award in 1986. He played a total of 206 games, started 204 games, had 1,190 tackles, 71.5 sacks, 31 forced fumbles, 7 interceptions. This guy was just, I love the way he played ball as a DB, as a linebacker. Um, Let me see what else I got here. He was a talent at the left outside backer position. Helped his team. He played for 5 Super Bowl appearances, 4 with Buffalo, and actually 1 with Atlanta. And he actually tied. He lost all 5 of them, so he also shares a record for most Super Bowl losses with offensive lineman Glenn Parker. This guy was a beast. When he retired, he had 27 defensive fumble recovers, which is 3rd most in NFL history. Um, the only thing that tarnishes his image from not going into the Hall of Fame is he had a situation in '97 where he was charged on a sexual assault on a woman outside a hotel in at a Regency hotel in Buffalo. He pled guilty and was sentenced 60 days in jail for sexual misconduct. He was also placed on 3 years probation, $500, ordered to perform 100 hours of community service, and ordered to go anger management and substance abuse counseling. He also announced in 2010 that he was going to donate his brain for long-term brain injuries resulting from football-related injuries. So, to me, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but it's kind of something like Pete Rose. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you do all these good things, and then you get this one tarnish. So they hold it against him. So I don't know. It's a kind of serious allegation. Actually, he pled guilty to it. But barring that, he was a tremendous player. That's why I have him at number 8.
And I like Biscuit. Listen, I was always a Biscuit fan. I think it got to the point after we lost the 4th Super Bowl. I think he wanted to get out, and I don't remember if it was money or what also. But when he went to Atlanta, I was rooting for him. But it kind of bothered me that he left, because he was one of those
Yeah.
core guys. So after like a year, maybe paying attention, I remember him going to the Super Bowl. I'm sad that he didn't get it, but I really didn't follow him as much as usually I do with other players. And I didn't know about that sexual assault thing until I was reading an article today, like an older article, and that came up, and I
Mhm.
was like, wow, I never knew about that. So it kind of stinks, but you look at it and there's other players. This is a whole different conversation we can have another time, because if that's the
Yeah.
case, everyone blackballed this guy. I mean, I know he wasn't as good as LT, but LT got caught doing a lot of crazy stuff, and he's in the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame. So I mean, you
Absolutely.
could go,
A lot more crazy stuff.
oh yeah. So we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We're gonna leave that alone.
if you're going off on just on his play on the field, then he could have a shot. But the
Mhm.
linebacker position it's crazy. There was so many great linebackers, and he was a very good linebacker. Was he one of the great linebackers? I don't know. For the Bills, yes, he was. He was a beast. And
I think he was, because I mean he took the Bills to 4 Super Bowls and one with
yeah,
Atlanta, so
he helped, and
he
I
was
didn't even
balling.
know he came to the Bills because he was a holdout for the Indianapolis Colts, and I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I ended up finding that out too in the article I was reading.
Mm.
So I mean, I like Biscuit. Is he in my top 10? No, I actually left him out. He was one of the guys I wanted to put in, but then I was like, you know what?
Honorable mention for you then.
Yeah.
Honorable mention for you.
Yeah. He was always one of my favorites. I always thought about getting a Biscuit jersey,
Just,
you know, but I never have. So now we're moving on to number 7. Here's another guy. I know he's not going to be on your list most likely. So another offensive lineman. I went back to back like you. Right?
I
You
don't
went
think I
back to
have
back.
any offensive linemen.
Back to back with the receivers. I went back to back with the O line, giving them some love. All right, I went with number 67, Kent Hull. He was 6'5", 278. Position center. He was on the Bills from 1987 to 1996. His achievements: Bills Wall of Fame inductee in 2002, three-time Pro Bowl selection, members of the Bills all-time team. His 170 games played are most by a center in team history. Was considered one of the keys of the efficiency of the Bills' no huddle or the K gun in those Super Bowl years. All right. One thing I didn't know, he was a seventh round pick for the New Jersey Generals, so he didn't get into the league until 3 years later. Uh, he joined the Bills as a rookie in 1986, but if they would have drafted him, he could have been on their team in 1983. He was a rookie for us in 1986, and they drafted him out of Mississippi State. Him and him and Kelly actually signed on the same day in August.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
he's part of the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. He's in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame and Mississippi State's Ring of Honor. Mississippi State also gives out a yearly trophy called the Kent Hall Trophy for the best offensive lineman in Mississippi State.
Wow.
I mean, he was one of those guys. You saw him giving the ball to Jim Kelly all the time, man. He was there through all those years. He was a beast on that line. I could go with Will Wilford was another guy, but I was going to put up
Yep.
3 offensive linemen. They're a bunch of guys that need some do there. So Kent Hull again, one of those beasts of the linemen that we've had in those years. So got to show him some love. He was a
You showing
monster.
the offensive linemen some love today, man.
You know why? Because everybody would go receiver, running back, quarterbacks, the pretty thing. The offensive line is where all that nitty gritty happens with the D line and the offensive
The
line.
trenches, the
Yeah, that's
trenches,
the
guys.
trenches, like they say. Your offense isn't going anywhere if your O line can't block. Doesn't matter who it
Absolutely.
is. So I'm giving them some love. And who do you have at number 7?
Number 7. Number 7, number 6.
No, 7.
I have. Okay, yeah, that's right. We skipped that. I got number 56, Darryl Talley.
Tally at number 7. Okay.
That's why I got him number 7. Uh, he played. He was drafted in 1983, second round, pick 39. His career history: played with the Bills from 83 to 94, Atlanta Falcons, Minnesota. He was a linebacker for 14 seasons during the 80s and the 90s. He played for West Virginia University, and he was recognized as an All-American. He played professionally for the Buffalo Bills, like I said, Atlanta Falcons, Minnesota, and played in 4 Super Bowls for the Bills. I'm going to talk about his legacy a little bit. Talley's 5 tackles for a loss against Penn State stand as a single game record. His personal best, 15 tackles against Boston College, won Sports Illustrated Player of the Week honors for his career. He had 282 unassisted tackles, which is first of all time, 202 assisted tackles, second all time, and 28 tackles for loss, second all time, and 19 sacks, fourth all time. During his 4-year career, he recorded a school record of 484 tackles, which has been passed by Grant Wiley. He was selected, like I said, in the second round of the 1983 draft. Played 12 seasons for the Bills. He's the Bills' all-time leading tackler with 1,137 tackles, and also recorded 38.5 sacks, 12 interceptions for 189 return yards and 3 touchdowns, and 14 fumble recoveries for 76 return yards. He averaged 120 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 6.2 takeaways per season. And his mark of 188 regular season games played ranks fifth most in team history. Um, he had multiple nicknames. I don't know if you remember. They used to call him the Duke of Awesome, Spider-Man, the Hammer. Um, he had a section, a cheering section, and was known as the Tallywhackers. You remember that? That's way back in the day.
Listen, the thing is, right now, I have him next. So you're going off
Oh,
of
okay.
all my notes.
Okay.
I actually had him at number 6, but keep going. You're laying everything out there.
In 1990, in 2003, he became the 20th member on the Wall of Fame in Ralph Wilson Stadium. One thing of his quote, he said, one thing I wish people would take a look at is of all the things that I've accomplished, we wouldn't have done a lot of them without Scott Norwood, because he was talking about Scott Norwood being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And so he discussed that.
The Bills Wall of Fame, for the Wall of Fame.
For the Wall, what did I say, Hall of Fame? Wall of Fame, yeah, thank you for correcting me. And he was talking about, if you look in the early days, they won a lot of games with him, and they think somewhere he needs to be up there on the wall because he did a lot of things that happened. Remember in the Super Bowl, they blame everybody on the wide right kick, but if you remember, Jim Kelly had interceptions. Everybody made mistakes, so to really just wallow up and just kind of blame it on Scott Norwood just because of that and not put him in the Wall of Fame in Buffalo is preposterous. He did a lot for us during those years.
It's funny because you pretty much had almost everything, so I guess we were looking at the same things. I mean, the only thing different I had was 2 of his interceptions, or his only 2 touchdowns he ever had were actually off of interceptions. He started his second year in the league at left outside linebacker. And he stayed there for 3 years. After that, he moved to right outside linebacker, where he had the right side down for 8 years. Like we talked about in the past about Darryl Talley, I was one of those guys. I wasn't a big Darryl Talley fan until later on. You heard his stats, and I was like, really, he was that good? And you go by, and then you watch some film. It's like, damn, this guy actually was nasty. He was
good. He was nasty.
Good, And I know Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, all these guys are still pushing for him to actually get into the Hall of Fame. And yes, the whole Scott Norwood thing, I didn't know until I was reading. I guess the same thing you were reading, and I was like, "Damn, man, it's cool that he's pushing for him." Did you ever see that special? I think it was on Scott Norwood with the whole wide right, and how he almost committed suicide and he was losing his mind and everything. Yeah. And eventually, the people in Buffalo actually accepted him back and so forth.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
it was pretty sad. Yeah, he actually contemplated suicide because of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because, like, if you told me, hey, we're going to put Scott Norwood on the Bills Hall of Fame or Wall of Fame, I look at you like, why? Because I think Steve Christie ended up breaking his records. But, yes, he was a big part of that team. And I tell everybody that if it was on turf, we probably would have won that game because the guy was almost automatic on turf. But when it came to grass, I knew he was like 50-50. That might not have been his real stats, but he wasn't 100%. He wasn't as automatic on grass as he was on turf. So that did bother me. But Talley, guys.
Do you remember? Excuse me. Do you remember when he missed the wide right? How long of a field goal was it? Was it 30? What was it? 34-yarder? Do you remember?
I don't know if it was 35.
Because I remember
we should remember this because he's a Giant fan.
Yeah, he's a Giant fan. Bobby, if you're there and you're listening, chime in, please. If you remember.
35. It wasn't a give me. It was like 35 or 45 yards. And then there was a special I was watching, which is crazy, that I think Kenneth Davis and somebody else, because it was after the whole attacks or something. They were saying there was a helicopter, which I don't know if it's true or not, but it was in the helicopter above that was actually flying lower around the stadium. And when he went to kick that field goal, supposedly it was hovering over the end zone. This is why I was like, are you serious? I've never heard that before.
So are they saying there was a vortex of the wind or something to affect it?
Kenneth Davis, the running back, you remember Kenneth Davis? I think it was 20, small, feisty guy. Him and somebody else was like, yo, why are they so low? So they're thinking maybe the wind might have pushed it to the right. But is it true? Who knows? I don't know. But when I heard that, I was like, that
I've
could make
never heard
sense.
that. This is the first time I heard that.
I don't know if it was part of that Scott Norwood special or it was just like one of the Super Bowl specials of that game. But it was funny. Another thing I remember watching this guy, he was always there's so many highlights of him ripping Ken O'Brien, the Jets quarterback. And then Darryl Talley, he actually fought the league because the league didn't want him to wear those the spandex or that suit.
The pad.
No, it wasn't a pad. It was almost like a diver suit, almost the Spider-Man, because it would keep him warm in the winter. So the league complained, and at that point they didn't have the rule. It had to match your colors. So that was the only reason he was able to get away with that. His whole Spider-Man thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So anyway, being that we talked about Mr. Talley, that was my number 6. You're number 7. Actually, we have so far one guy on the same on the list, just a little different on spots. Who do you have at number 6?
Well, you spoke about him earlier. It was Steve Tasker.
All right, Steve Tasker.
I mean, I pretty much could add a little bit of what you said. I mean, other than he was, you pretty much covered it. But I'll kind of recap it again. He was selected in the 9th round, 226 overall by the Houston Oilers. He played for 2 seasons there, and then he was claimed off waivers by the Bills in November 8, 1986. He was listed as a wide receiver. However, most of his playing time came as gunner on punts and kickoffs. When he joined the Bills, he played out wide. He began to play out wide receiver, and then with the Oilers, more than with the Oilers. And then he did pretty good as a receiver, but they needed him as special teams, like you said before. He wanted to play, but they didn't allow him to play at receiver because he was more in demand for a special team gunner. He did make a traditional role on offense. 94 against the LA Raiders, he set up the Bills' first touchdown with a 67-yard kickoff return. He also caught 5 passes for 108 yards in that game against Miami in the playoffs. He played in 7 Pro Bowls, 1987, and then 1990 through 95 consecutively, and became the only special teamer ever to be named in the game's MVP in 1993. So in 1987, he had 20 tackles with 3 forced fumbles. 1992, he had 19 tackles. A lot of people consider him, like me and you discussed before, the greatest special team player of all time. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think he was ranked number 9 on the NFL Network. They had an NFL Network show of the top 10 people that haven't been inducted in the Hall of Fame. And I think he was ranked number 9 in there. But that's my man, Steve Tasker. He's one of the best gunners in football, one of the best special teams players in football, and I believe he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
One thing, that's what I said with the NFL Network thing. I wonder if they would re-rank him, see where he was, because there was an older episode, and that's where I saw it too. How they say special teams 1/3 of the game, which I guess is true. And if you're going to put that much emphasis, then why isn't he in there, or some of these guys in there? And he did it for so long, And if you, like Jim Kelly always wanted him to play receiver or more receiver, March said no. And if you look at the squad, where was he going to go? He wasn't taking times for James Lofton Reed.
He wasn't.
Beebe. Those are your main 3 guys.
Yep.
And he did get in once in a blue moon, but it wasn't much. So he had his role. He did his role better than anybody in the league. So if you're going to if you're not going to count his special teams thing, so are you going to take away like Deion's punt returning? Because that's special teams.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Hey, listen, you hit it on the head. It's a third. It's 3 teams pretty much on one team. So he was the leader on that one team pretty much. I mean, as a gunner, the dude, I don't know what his 40 time was. I know I didn't bring this up before with Don Beebe, but Don Beebe ran a 4.21, believe it or not. He was super fast. Yes, he was super fast. I don't know what Steve Tasker's 40 time was, but to be a gunner, you had to be real fast. And then he just had a knack for he had that football speed. He always was where the ball was at,
You know how to take those angles.
the
Like they
angles.
say, you have to give credit where credit's due. He did it for so long, and he did it better than anybody else.
Yep.
So you got to give the guy his love. Steve Tasker deserves it. I think he's going to get in. I think enough people saw that he did it for so long, and he was just a monster, that he will get in. If he doesn't get in, I will be surprised. It'd be a shame, because there's no reason for him not to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, the guy is, like you said, everybody
Absolutely.
knows. Say who was the best special teamers ever, and they're going to say Steve Tasker. So at least, we have two guys on our list. I think
Yes.
now we'll start having some more that probably match, probably just in different spots. So with that said, we're going to number 5 on my list. He might be higher on your list, I believe. I have him here because not his football play, but I guess the guys in front of him. I think, to me, I don't know if they were better, but I find them to be. Number 5 for me is OJ. You love him, you hate him, whatever. His football career, you can't hate the guy. The juice was a beast. The juice was loose. The juice was loose. 6'1", 210. He played with the Bills from 1969 to 1977. Achievements Hall of Fame inductee in 1985, 6-time Pro Bowl selection. At retirement, ranked second only to Jim Brown in career rushing. I mean, that's changed, but that's when he retired. 3-time NFL Player of the Year in 1972, 1973, and the year I was born, 1975. He became the first man, I didn't know this, but he was the first man to rush for 2,000 yards in the NFL, and that was in 1973. I thought somebody else had done it before him.
Mhm.
In 1983, he became part of the College Football Hall of Fame. In Buffalo, he had
By the way,
2,100.
he did those 2,000 yards in a 14 game season now.
Yes, yeah, that's
Remember
that's
that?
one of the things. I mean, in Buffalo, he had 2,123 carries for 10,183 yards, 57 touchdowns. He averaged 4.8 yards a carry. He averaged 90.9 yards a game, which was kind of
Hmm.
insane. But in those days, the running game was different, man. You ran. I actually was watching some highlights. We'll talk about that later. He had 175 catches for 1,924 yards, 12 touchdowns. He averaged 17.2 yards a reception, well, per game. So it was 17.2. Uh, in his career, he had 54 fumbles over there in Buffalo. His longest rush was a 94-yarder. This is what kind of caught me, which I didn't know, man. He pretty much started, I think, every game except for one in his career.
One game. Yep.
And that's
Yep.
insane. Insane because in those times, it was a harder hitting. It didn't
Brutal.
matter. They were going for your knees. They would clothesline you. They would face mask you with horse
Yep.
tackles. To miss one game out of 112 games,
It's amazing.
yeah, it's
Amazing. And another thing I like to add, because listen, we're running short on time, but I have him as my number 5 guy, so I'm just going to kind of add a little bit. The other thing you said pretty much covered. The other thing I'd like to add is that on a Thanksgiving game against the Detroit Lions, he rushed for 273 yards on 29 attempts and 2 touchdowns. Even though they lost the game, that was his best rushing game of his career. So that's the only thing I got to add about with him, because I know we got to move along. We're running. See the
probably
time up there.
we have an hour today, or we're going a little longer. You can answer that when we
Okay.
get a chance. Another thing was his rookie year, he was returning punts and kickoffs, and he had a touchdown his rookie year on kickoffs against the Jets. He actually muffed the kick, picked it back up, and ran by everybody. And then he finished his career in 2 years in San Fran. I mean, that was my number 5. What do you have at 5?
Oh, now I gotta go back. Number 5, I got. At number 5, I have Thurman Thomas. Thurman Thomas, running back.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Let me see. Thurman Thomas was one of the best running backs the Bills ever had besides OJ. I think he was gonna. I'm kind of here we go. Let me see. I've got kind of lost sidetracked by my notes because I went back to OJ Simpson.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, okay, I'm good. I'm good. He was actually going to be a first round pick, but due to a knee injury, he fell into the second round, or 40th overall in 1988. We drafted him. The Buffalo Bills drafted him, and that was the first choice in the draft. But he would have been a first rounder had he not had that knee injury. He was also known as part of the offense that include Jim Kelly, Andre Reed, that led the team to 4 Super Bowl straight
Yeah.
appearances. He was AFC rushing leader 1990, 1991, 1992. In the first career, 3 seasons in his career, he had a total of 12 games with at least 100 yards rushing. The Bills won every one of those games when he rushed over 100 yards. Um, he currently holds the all-time Buffalo rushing record with 11,938 yards, and the team records for yards from scrimmage with 16,279 over 12 years. He was also fourth in overall in team scoring. He finished 13 seasons. As last season, he played with Miami with 12,074 rushing yards, 472 receptions, and 4,000. He had 472 receptions for 4,458. So many numbers, man. I'm trying to keep up. And 88
Yeah.
touchdowns, 65 rushing, 23 receiving, with 16,532 total yards from scrimmage. He's the only player in NFL history to lead the league in total yards from scrimmage for 4 consecutive seasons. He's only one of 6 running backs to have over 400 receptions for 10,000 yards. Walter Payton, Marshall Faulk, Marcus Allen, Tiki Barber, and LaDainian Tomlinson are the other 5 that share that record with him. Thomas is also one of 5 running backs to have rushed for over 1,000 yards in 8 consecutive seasons, along with Curtis Martin, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, and Thomason. So he's with good names. You know, he's in a good crowd there. He also set playoff records with the most career points, 126, touchdowns, 21, and consecutive playoff games with a touchdown, 9. He rushed for 1442 and caught 76 passes for 672 in his 21 postseason games. In 1989 playoff loss to the Cleveland Browns, he recorded 13 receptions for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy, you know, in Super Bowl 26, he is noted for a mishap where he had a pregame ritual. I don't know if you knew about this. He put his helmet at the 34-yard line, and then it was moved. It was moved, yeah, because Harry Connick was going to do the national anthem, so they moved his helmet, and they couldn't find it. So he missed the first 2 offensive plays, I guess, and then he only went for that game. I guess it was like a bad omen because he only had 13 rushing yards with a touchdown on 10 carries. He also caught 4 passes for 27 yards. This guy, you know, is one of my favorite players. Now, I had O.J. Simpson and Thurman Thomas. You know, Thurman Thomas, number-wise, I got to give it to him.
Listen, I have them. Like I said, I have them at 3. Since we're running a little short on time. Well, we're getting close. We have about
Uh-huh.
13 minutes or so. So I'll start throwing in here too. So me, I had them at third. Thurman Thomas, the Terminator. Also like the Dolphin Killer because he had great games against those guys. And sad to say, like you said, that last year, which I didn't even know, man, freaking Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, and Bruce Smith were released in 2000 due to our cap salary, which was horrible.
Yep.
So all 3 of them went to go, which it's sad because I was like, you knew it was the end of the era, even though Bruce had great numbers for a few more years. Thurman, man, like I said, to me, he was the best all-around back until probably Marshall Falk took that from him. The guy was a monster. He had hands like a receiver. You could just go on and on and on. He was so good. He actually kept Barry Sanders on the freaking bench in Oklahoma State. And when they used to say when Barry got into the league, they were like, "Hey, who's the best running back?" And Thurman would always say, "Well, I can't say that, but I will tell you this: he comes from Oklahoma State." So, you know, I love Thurman. Thurman was one of my favorite players. And like you said, I don't know if you said it, but I think you did. Him and Andre Reed are tied with 87 touchdowns.
Mm.
So now let's pick up the pace a little because we're running a little tight.
Yeah.
At number 4, I have the guy I just said, Andre Reed. The guy, fourth round pick in 1985 out of Kutztown, PA. Finally got into the Hall of Fame. And what's sad, a lot of these guys who played the game, these receivers, are probably not going to get into the Hall of Fame because of the numbers these kids are putting up in a totally different league, which you can't hit these receivers like this guy. You can get beat up. I mean, he made his living cutting down the middle. Hall of Fame inductee in 2014, 7-time Pro Bowl selection, ranks tied for first in Bills history at 87 touchdowns along with Thurman Thomas. He's the all-time leader and the team leader in catches with 941, receiving yards 13,095, and receiving TDs 86. He holds the team record for games played with 221. Like I said, he made his living in the middle of the field where a lot of guys don't want to play. He would jump out and play outside, but most of his time was inside. Real quick, he had those 3 touchdowns at the greatest comeback in playoff history against the Oilers, man. And in 2006, he was part of the Bills Wall of Fame. In 2014, real quick note, Kutztown Top University renamed their university field to Andre Reed Stadium. So, I mean, there's nothing you can't say about, like, these guys to me, Andre, to me, is fourth. I don't know who you have at fourth.
I had O.J. Simpson. We already covered him. So we're going to go on to number 3, which is Andre Reed. Which is Andre Reed. So, I mean, there's nothing much really to add. You pretty much covered them. If you want to move on, we can move on to number 2.
All right.
Who you got for number 2?
Number 2, I have the man, number 12, 6'3". I have Jim Kelly, first round pick in 1983 out of the U, Miami.
I think we're going to have the top 1 and 2. We're going to pretty much be a lock on the same guys. I'll guarantee you that. Because I got Jim Kelly also at number 2.
All right, so we can just throw out some stuff. You want to go, or I'll just throw some stuff out, and then you can add on.
Okay.
All right, quick achievements, Hall of Fame inductee 2002. Him and Bruce were actually went into the Hall of Fame on their first year of eligibility, which was great. Member of the Bills all-time team, 5-time Pro Bowl selection. Bills all-time leader in passing with 35,467, completions 2,847, attempts 4,779, and touchdown passes 237. At the time of his retirement, his QB rating was 84.4 and ranked 6th in the NFL history, and he was 10th in passing yards. I mean, that's a while back, so, he probably fell some. He went to the AFL, which we know for 2 years because he didn't want to go to Buffalo. One thing, in 1992, he was inducted to Miami's University of Hall of Fame. And number 12 is one of only 3 numbers retired by the Bills.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, before you say, I don't know if you ever watched the Houston Gamblers versus LA Express. It's called The Greatest Game
no one ever saw. Yep.
Jim Kelly led his team back, the Houston Gamblers, to beat Steve Young. In this game, Jim Kelly threw for 574 yards, which is insane. And Steve Young threw for 255. It was a shootout. Yep. 574 yards. If you ever got time, you want to see a shootout, go watch the game. It was a beast. The guy, just imagine if he didn't play those 2 years, he would have been higher on the all-time passing.
Absolutely. And in that game that you mentioned, they were trailing 33-14 with just 10 minutes left in the game and wound up leaving them, bringing the Gamblers back on the comeback that would pull off a 34-33 win. 574 yards. That's insane, man. Insane. Yeah. Anything else? Like I said, I have them also. A couple things I could add is Buffalo made the playoffs in 8 of 11 seasons as starting quarterback. His go-to wide receiver with the Bills was obviously Andre Reed, and he ranks among the NFL all-time leaders in several receiving categories. Kelly and Reed connected for 65 touchdowns during their career together. The only trailed the tandems of Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates, and Steve Young and Jerry Rice. So that's a good combo to be in.
I think Breeze at Colston now too, right? think was one.
Drees and Colston. Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I think
yes.
we read the same stuff everywhere. I think
Yeah, it's history, so you know what I mean. Everything's there. You read about it. The numbers are there, so nothing changes.
yeah,
Um, Kelly, you know, he did the K gun. I loved him as a quarterback. I love him as a person. You know, he's been through a lot of stuff. You know, overcoming cancer. His son died. Uh, um, and so he's been through a lot. But he is Buffalo, man. And when you talk Buffalo Bills, first thing that pops up is Jim Kelly. You know what I mean? Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, O.J. Simpson back in the day. But he's kind of like the epitome. He's the name. Bruce Smith, where we're going to get to in a minute.
yeah,
Uh, those names, once you hear these top two, top three names, those are the Buffalo Bills. Whenever you hear somebody talk about Buffalo Bills, even if they're not fans of the Buffalo Bills, they know these names: Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Andre Reed, you know, Thurman Thomas.
yeah.
Anybody you talk to, they know about these guys, and the K gun. You know, everybody knew about it, even if they weren't fans, they knew about the K gun back in the day.
Yeah, no, and you know what? It's crazy because one of the guys who passed him, and I know it was Jim Kelly and Reed were up there for a while, and then Peyton Manning passed him with Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
So the thing was, Indianapolis Colts pretty much took the K gun. It was the K gun, and they had the same format. Not Thurman Thomas, they had Marshall Falk. They had I don't know if Reggie Wayne was there at that point, but Marvin Harrison. They had Pollard would have been like your Pete Metzelaars. And one of the guys who was actually helping coach, who was brought in, especially when they started having better success, when they started running that no huddle offense over there in Indy, who was their quarterback coach, I believe, at the time, Frank Wright. They
Frank
brought
Wright. Yep.
Bill Polian was the GM, I think, at that time. So he
Hmm.
just started building like he did in Buffalo. By the way, Bobby said we have a little extra time. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, so I mean, the guy was a beast. I got to meet him, shake his hand once when he went to the Garden when I was working. Uh,
Cool.
you can't say anything about the guy. Just imagine if Kelly, Elway, Marino, even Montana, even Young played in this league now.
Hmm.
They would have lasted many years. I mean, when
You
they
think so? I
retired,
think I don't know, man. I think the speed of the game is a lot faster now. You know,
yeah,
we got these phenom defensive ends now. I mean, you know, you can't
right,
really
but you
can't.
can't hit the quarterbacks. I mean, when you saw
Yeah.
Kelly retired
Oh,
and
he was getting
Marino,
he was getting
yeah, but
killed, man.
and Marino retired, both their knees, they had what do you call
The
those
braces.
braces on both knees?
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Do you ever see Jim
couldn't
Kelly
move.
try to roll out of a pocket? You cringe. I was cringing every time he tried to roll out the pocket, like throw it away.
Yeah, it's mean, So I mean, just imagine. I think these guys would have put up insane numbers. And like we said, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, just imagine Jerry Rice in this where you can't touch the receiver league. This guy would at least put an extra 2,000 yards up, probably.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
believe so.
surprised we both agreed on number one. I was going to flip flop these guys. It was either Kelly or Bruce, but I've always loved Bruce. The guy was a monster. Bruce. The only time you ever hear
Ooh.
that is Bruce or Bruce Springsteen. So Bruce, 6'4", first overall pick in 1985 out of Virginia Tech. I still have his rookie card somewhere.
Dude,
you
probably
know,
worth some money now.
Probably, I don't know. I have to look up this stuff. He came out of Virginia Tech. There's so many things. Hall of Fame inductee, 2009, all-time leading NFL sack leader with 200. Which I say, if he would have played in the 4-3, this guy would have had at
Mm.
least 20 more sacks easily.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Now including the team record with 171 with the Bills. Bills record. He has the Bills record with an 11-time Pro Bowl selection, member of the Bills All-Time League, named to the NFL's Team of the Decade in both 1980 and 1990. Was a six-time AFC Defensive Player of the Month, ranks 20th in NFL history with 279 games played, seventh amongst non-kickers, 217 with the Bills, and like I said, number one overall pick in 1985. He was known as the Sack Man at Virginia Tech, the Hokies. And one thing I didn't know, I don't know if you saw this when you were doing your research too, we almost lost Bruce Smith to the Denver Broncos in 1989.
Hmm.
Luckily, the Buffalo Bills matched the offer. Just imagine if he would have been over there with Elway, they probably would have won a game, a Super
Yep.
Bowl earlier.
Yeah, they wanted to. You said it. Yeah, they wanted to match an offer for that.
They might,
Yep.
yeah, the Bills matched the offer. His best year was in 1990 with 19 sacks. He's Virginia Tech Sports Hall of Fame, Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame, 2008 Bills Hall of Fame. The one thing I do remember, one play when I'll never forget, is when Boomer Esiason was on the Jets. He snapped the ball, and Bruce Smith came around that corner like he timed it perfectly, and
Perfect.
he ripped Boomer, and Boomer was cloud nine somewhere. He was out. I remember NFL did a thing, and Hugh Douglas thought was like, "Yo, we all thought Boomer was dead." He's like, "Whoa, how did he come around and hit him so hard?" And there was a few hits like he had on John Elway, forced fumbles. This
Oh
guy was
yeah,
a
man.
monster. His wingspan. I mean,
He was
I,
just a beast. He
he
was just a
was.
beast. The only thing I could add to it is the only thing sad about it is when the way he got released from the Bills. It was kind of like an emergency salary cap measure that they had in '99. I don't know if you remember that they released him. I think you mentioned earlier Andre Reed and Thurman Thomas, which is like you like when that happened, it was like your heart sunk because those are the core guys on the team. Then he wound up going to the Washington Redskins to finish off his career. So um, this guy is the Buffalo Bills. He was the best to me, the best player, and is the best player right now for the Buffalo Bills. That's why I have him at number one.
Yeah. Quick question. I mean, it's not up here, but Bobby said, Kyle asked, did the Bills retire Andre Reed's jersey yet? No. The only three that are retired as of right now is Kelly, Bruce, and Thurman. I mean, no reason why they shouldn't retire Reed's number. I
Yeah,
mean, I get at some point it's like how many numbers you're going to have, but that's one of the guys. It's like it's the four. It's like over there when you
that's
said
that's
Dallas
the core.
Cowboys. Yeah, Dallas Cowboys three. Who's Dallas Cowboys three?
Yeah,
Aikman,
Smith.
Smith, and Irvin. So it's the same
Yep.
thing for the Bills. It was always Reed, Thurman, Bruce, and Kelly. Sad because you should say Darryl Talley also and Biscuit,
Yeah.
but then it keeps going and going. BB and Lofton. So
Man, I don't know what you got against Don Beatty, man.
I have nothing against Don Beebe. I actually like Don Beebe. So that's one thing. I've always liked Don Beebe. It's cool. We had pretty much the same top five, but then we had a few different ones up there.
You
Anybody
you
out
you
there?
showed love to the O lineman.
Yeah, I did. I showed some love to the whole lineman. And a quick thing, Bobby said we got about, I don't know, 6 minutes or so, a little less. There was an article I was reading about Buffalo Bills Wall of Fame candidates. I think the last one was 2000. I'll tell you right now. I think I have it up here somewhere. 2017, they inducted Cookie Gilchrist. So it's been a while since they've inducted somebody. Rumor was possible Cornelius Bennett, and that's what I was reading, and then I ended up finding out about that story about the attack or whatever he had. So it's sad to say that might be a thing that keeps him from it. If you were to pick somebody besides Biscuit, who would you pick out of your squad? I mean, out of the past Bills to be on the wall.
Oh
Yeah,
man, Bruce Smith's already in there.
yeah.
It has to be Jim Kelly.
No,
I
Kelly's on
mean,
there. Here,
is he on there? I don't have him
yeah,
on my list.
no, he's on
I
there. He
got
was inducted in 2001. I could give you some of the names. Uh,
okay.
Gilchrist, Lou Saban, Van Miller, Bill Polian,
Bill
Phil
Polian.
Hansen. I thought Phil
Okay.
Hansen wasn't on there, but he was. Brooke Edgerson. See, some of these guys I don't know. Bruce Smith, Steve Tasker, Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, Jim Richter, Darryl Talley, Kent Hall, Fred Summerless, Jim Kelly, Edward Ambrosky, Bob Carlson, George Seams, Robert James, Joe DeLamere, can't let me say his name, Marv Levy, no disrespect, Joe, Mike Stratton, Joe Ferguson, Ralph Wilson Jr., Billy Shaw, Jack Kent, Patrick
I see him
McBroder,
now. Yeah.
and OJ Simpson. So, okay, you
Yep.
got him now?
Okay, I got the list. I
Okay.
got him now. Shoot. Man,
Pick a name.
I it's got to be Cornelius Bennett. It's
What?
got to be.
What? What's wrong with you, man? Did you
It's
not
got
see
to be,
that list?
man.
Did you not see that?
I,
Who's your boy? Who do you love? Why aren't you putting him up there, man?
No, because he's not that good yet. I mean, he's
He's
good.
not.
I'm
He's
going
not.
by personal preference, man. I just like him, but his numbers really don't reflect,
But he was
all
part of that
fame
team,
stuff.
so maybe you could give him some love and put him up
And
there.
I'm giving him all the love I can, but numbers wise, I mean, really, to get on that wall, you got to be exceptional. And I think Cornelius Bennett deserves to be there, in my opinion. Except that tarnish that he has, I don't know how it's going to affect. Obviously, it's been affecting him. So, but to me, he needs to be. I think I take him. I don't know. What you think?
The one guy I thought, besides Biscuit, would be Eric Moulds. I think Eric Moulds should be up there. He's one of those guys who put those numbers up.
He put the numbers up. Yeah,
he put his time in there, and he stayed through the thick and thin, kind of like a Lee Evans who stayed there for a long time.
I kind of got to agree with you on that. I agree with you on that too. Eric Moulds, man.
Another guy you could throw out there, maybe. Again, that we're almost done here. Bringing Bobby if he's going to come on. Maybe Fred Jackson.
You think so?
Short time.
He did a lot for the short time.
Exactly. He's ranked what?
Yes, Fred Jackson. Yeah.
So I mean, I would give it to for Fred Jackson, but he could get up there. The guy was a monster in his short time. For the
numbers he put with the short time, absolutely, he could be it's a case to be argued that he could go up to the wall. Absolutely.
Bobby loves some Fred.
Bobby loves Fred Jackson.
Hey, Bobby, did you hear us when we asked how long was that Scott Norwood field goal against the Giants?
No, I happened to miss that. I had a quick phone call coming in, so I actually missed that point. Was that 42?
40. Actually, it might have been 43, I think. I said it was
41, 42, 43, around there.
Yeah, it was something like that. All right, Bobby, you want to hit up any shows before we get out of here?
No, we got real quick. Hang tight if you're watching. We have Beyond the Buzzer Sports starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time in about 19 minutes. Tomorrow we have the K&K Sports Show Baseball Edition on Fridays. And I believe they have a show coming up also on Saturday night.
Nice. There you go. Anybody out there, join and watch those shows. Support our brothers and the others on their shows as well. I mean, what are we going to do for next week? I'm not sure. Maybe see if any news pops up. If not, we'll have to come up with some kind of list. Or we're just going to talk a lot of stuff for an hour. You guys can send some questions, suggestions, whatever. Just tag us on the end of the show or whatever, and we'll go from there. Besides that, anything else, guys?
Josh Allen has one more workout. He said he's going to do. So, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I don't know if you've been seeing the videos online from Joe Kroom. If you want to look him up, Joe Kroom on Facebook. He's a photographer that travels with the Buffalo Bills, and he's got a lot of videos of them working out in Florida, with Stephon Diggs and just receiving and throwing, and you can see how they're trying to gel, and you can see them throwing around and just working out, trying to get better. So looking forward for camp.
Sounds good. So everybody, it's been fun. It's been real. Thanks for watching. And for Vinny, Bobby, and myself, we're saying adios. Peace out, guys. Until next week.
That's adios. The second Spanish word you use. All right.
We got to throw them in there. Adios.
Buenos noches.
Buenas noches.
Take care, fellas. Have a great night. Great week.
You too.
Thanks.